Hello, this is Rebecca, the Steampunk Planner. I will be using my Green Moon Man by Mojan, and it has the Ferris Wheel Press Spruce County Post in it, along with my Esther book, Raven, with the De Atramis Archive ink in black. I have my Schaefer Coffee edition, and it still has the Coffee Monster Robert Oster Day to Night. And then this is my Twisby medium nib with the Diamine Dragon Blood in it. So I'm going to be speeding this up because I want to cover everything and I don't want to lose you throughout this. So what I'm going to do is lay out just the center to start it. And I'm using the day to night because, as you can see, it kind of disappears within the ink that's laid down. There's a few things I want to explain on here as I grab the Esther book SD pen and Raven, and I have my document black in there. And the reason I'm using the document black along with other colors is the document black, I'm sorry, I keep calling it the document, it's archive ink. It will not move once it lays down and dries. I need to add the and dries. Once it is dry, it will not move. The rest of these inks, you will notice as I work that they reactivate. So they're very similar to watercolor. Now, if you have not worked in watercolor, you will I'm hoping that you'll understand what I'm saying. And I will point out, if you really would like me to do an extended video where I go into a little bit more detail, let me know. Otherwise, I am going to upload the extended version on my artist channel, Noir Artist to Author. It will take me a little bit of time because I don't want to rush through that one. Please, I will try to get the link in once I have this up below. But what I'm doing in here is I am scribbling. And if you are someone who scribbles or doodles but don't feel that you are a quote-unquote artist, yeah, all artists are doing is scribbling. It's the type of scribbling that we're doing and what we're using it to create a specific look. You'll notice that with my black ink, my archive or document ink, no, it is archive. Now I've got myself all screwed up. Sorry. Anyhow, with the black ink, I'll leave it that way. This is going down as an outline, and this is different. Normally, as when we draw with the outline first, and then we color, very similar to like with a coloring book. But when you get into doing things a little bit more advanced, like illustration, what you're doing is your sketch becomes your outline, and then your painting, once you're done, the outline is removed because it's only a reference. And then once it is removed, you should be able to see the subject without an outline because truthfully, we don't have outlines around us. So, this being a little backwards, I am laying in the outlines, but I'm laying them in more as shadows. Now, they'll be deeper towards the center because that is where most of this rose is collected and overlaps. The farther out, not only do the leaves get bigger, but they get bigger because they are more open, so they don't have as much shadowing that's required or depth. They actually require more light. Now, speaking of light, my light is actually coming from above. It is not coming from any of the sides. And I am using the way the ink dried to create edging And I'm also using areas that I left without color to create texture and depth. So as I work, I am going from the raven to the day to night and using the dragon's blood. Now what I'm doing is using each of those colors, including the black archive ink. While wet, I'm using my Kakamori brass nib and water. And what I'm doing is, while these are still wet, I am using a light amount of water to drag them so that they blend in a little bit more and are not so hard with the rest of the ink, because the rest of it is free flowing, and that's what I want to keep with this. Now I will say, you can, like with watercolor, apply, or even markers, apply the water and then use your ink to drop in there and let it disperse. Now, one of the things if you're using a fountain pen to do that dropping, like I am doing here, I recommend that you dry it off before you continue with anything, especially if you set it down, because what it's doing is it will pull itself into the nib. Have you ever had a nib that just would not start? So what do? You dip it in some warm water, just the very tip. You just need to get it flowing. But then all of a sudden you notice that your ink is kind of a little washed out, like overwatered. That's because it is drawing the water into the nib. And the last thing I want is to have water in with my archive ink or any of my other nibs and then to have it sit there. So quickly, it's just dabbing it into a towel makes it nice and easy to work with. So I am continuing throughout, and you can see here as I add water that not only is it activating the previous inks, because the only inks that I'm using on here that will not move once dry is the black diatremous ink. It is made to not shift. That is why it's an archive ink, and there is a version that's a document ink. So now I'm going to use the Spruce County Post, and I'm adding in the leaves. The leaves for roses have a little stair-step type of edging. As I worked in different areas on this, I did let the image or the paper dry before I moved on, just so that I don't set my hand in it and destroy my work, and also travel or touch anything else with my hand. So the top one, you notice I just did lines to separate out because it's at a distance. This one I just want to show you another avenue that you can use, and that is to make the veins or stems within the leaf lighter. So this is going to have more shadowing, and now that I've put the Spruce County Post in there, I am going to use the water on my nib to blend out the lines and also to drag this color through to create a little bit more of a shadowing and a color differentiation. Now I do not want to lose my Martian color in here because I really love this orange. It's very fall, which is very perfect for what I'm doing. And it keeps that mood. But you can see here how I have kept the stems where they're lighter. And if it winds up being too wet, too dark or anything, get in there with a clean towel or a corner of a towel and remove some of that water and some of that darkness. That's what I have done. And while you do that, if it imprints in another area, that's fine, because right now on this, I've got kind of more of a splatter effect at the end. So that makes it nice and easy. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now, I'm sorry, I am off camera with this leaf, and I'm just going to use the same line effect that I did earlier, but I'm not attaching them, the lines that is. Those lines I will use when I blend off. Now, I wanted to show you that you could actually go ahead and outline the entire area. Ferris wheel press ink is not an archival ink, so it will reestablish with water. And that is what I'm doing. These are going to be a lot lighter of a area because of the fact that the light is above. So the shadows are going to be more what's closer to the rose than it will be to the tips. And I don't know if you have noticed, but I have noticed that there are some soft white edges on some roses. I do have roses outside in my garden. So the ink of the month I am going to use, and I wanted to show you, this is one that you want to shake well. It states that on the bottle. Shake very well before use, because this ink does separate. It is a document ink, so it also, once dry, will not move, which is perfect. Now, because this ink has more of a fluidity to it, it's very juicy, as other fountain pen enthusiasts will say. And that is perfect because you can see here, I actually don't need to use a whole lot of water to get it to mix. And that is fine. I'm not looking for straight white. I'm looking to create lighter areas on the rose to show where the light is hitting and where there's any bounce light that's going on. Also, this helps me to create more of a curve effect on the petals, so it looks like they're turning out from the center. Again, I'm scribbling. So if you're a person that doodles, scribbles while they draw, do hatch work, don't let people tell you you are not an artist. And other artists, fellow artists out there, if you are telling people this, bad on you. We need to encourage our community. And it doesn't matter if you're drawing in a planner, in a notebook, or on the digital screen of your computer. It doesn't matter if you're scribbling, hatch work, creating Zentangles. You are an artist, plain and simple. I say this because when I was younger and had just started dating, I was invited over to my, at that time, boyfriend's house. And I was studying art in high school. And they asked me, his parents, asked me what I'm doing in high school. What am I studying? And I said, art. And they said, well, what do you want to do when you are out of school? And I said, I want to be an artist. And they took massive offense to this. To this day, 55 years, well, I'm 55 years old, so this was more like 30 years ago. 35 years ago, whatever. Anyhow, they took offense to what I was saying, and I still don't understand why. I am doing art, and I am so happy that I am. And honestly, I'm proud of myself because I am still doing this. I have worked in the creative area of my career all my life. And I'm very honored to have this gift. And I'm also very honored to be able to share this gift, to teach, to encourage. I have taught makeup, art, hair design, hair color, illustration, graphic arts, and overall just been so grateful and humbled. This does not mean that I don't have bad days. I do. Oh, I do. But this has always been able to bring me home. Now, one thing I do want to mention is I'm doing little tiny dots around. And that's just to add in little highlights. You can let this dry. And if you really want stronger lights in here, once it's dry, you can come back with this white document ink and you'll have bright whites. But I don't want bright whites. I want this to be more natural. So here's the finished piece. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for dealing with my little rant. I hope you guys have a great day and a great October. More designs to come, more inks to come, and other special things. Thanks again, and take care.